Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It is your boy El Parcero Philly. Listen, tonight is a really special night. If you are a fan of Union Podcasts, tonight is a night where you do not want to miss it. Tonight we have I'm pretty sure this is the first ever Union Cypher. We have 6 different podcasts all here tonight talking all the hottest topics here with the Philadelphia Union after another great season, and we're heading into the playoffs. So today we're going to get right into it. We're going to be introducing every single podcast here at this moment here. And guys, enjoy tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. If, of course, you guys got some questions, we'll be looking at that as the night goes on. And, of course, as always, we're going to have a lot of fun here tonight. So let's get this party started, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to introduce podcast by podcast. And, of course, we'll start off with the usual suspects. For the people who do listen to Duke by the River, let's start off with our host tonight. And we got the full squad here tonight. And let's start off with my man, Mr. Justin, #1 bald Union podcaster, Friedberg. Justin, what's going on, baby? You ready for this one? It's gonna be wild, man.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for this to go completely off the rails. It's the Union crossover that nobody wanted, but we're getting it down anyway.
I wonder how many guys got beers tonight or some sort of drink tonight. So we'll see how this goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's also welcome on in Zach Lobasso, of course, our realist, as we like to say. Zach, what's going on, my man?
What's up? Nothing much, just hanging out. Nice weather today, it's been a good day. It's been a good day.
It's funny you say that, Zach, because today I said today's perfect soccer weather, and it's truly awesome. That's what we need.
Perfect soccer weather.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my man, Mr. Tim Lovinguth, and the new setup.
Yeah. New setup, new office, and a new apartment. Gotta love it,
dude. I love it. It looks good, man. I'm excited to get it started. And of course, that rounds out Duke by the River. Now we're going to introduce to you our representative of the SOB podcast. Please, ladies and gentlemen, your favorite capo, Mr. Adam Booth. What's up, Adam? Adam, hit the unmute button, my man. It's all good, man.
It's K. I don't have Devin here to help me out. Therefore, I'm screwed from the get-go. I need a producer. I'm talent. I'm not coordinated. But hey, how you doing? Good to see you all.
It's good to see you, man. I'm excited to have you guys, and of course, shouts out to Matt and Devin, the producer and the Prez. We love what you guys have been doing, bringing the voices from the tree over to the podcast realm, and we really appreciate it, man.
Happy to be here.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. All right, let's bring on another podcast from the Doopy brothers. First up, we got the first brother, Mr. AJ. AJ, what's going on, man?
Yo, what's up, guys? This is exciting. I appreciate you having me on. I'll let Luke know he doesn't have to come on if you want.
You can sit this one out, Luke. That's what he's telling us, man. And AJ really flexed on us here today with this beautiful kit he's got going on. He's got the OG 2010 on, ladies and gentlemen, for those who can't see.
I figured if there are any soccer nerds who'd appreciate it, it'd be this crew right here.
I just think you're talking to like the Jersey nerd over here, so I appreciate AJ.
Absolutely. Let's bring on the second part of the Doopy brothers. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome on in Mr. Luke. What's up, Luke?
Hey, how's it going? Excited to be here.
Yeah, man, it's going to be great. We have the Doopy brothers here in the flesh, and it's going to be excited seeing how the brothers interact in the podcast with a bunch of other Union nuts here. Let's get it, guys. Let's get it. All right, let's move on to another podcast, ladies and gentlemen, from the Free Kick podcast. Todd Lewis, what's up, Todd?
What's up, Johnny? It's been a month since we were both talking CCL against Club America. I forget the name of the podcast, but yeah, great to see you. And then it's also nice to see some guys that have participated in the trivia show last year. Luke, AJ, and I think Justin participated last year or 2 years ago. I don't know. No trivia this time, guys, but I don't know, maybe in the future.
Stay on your toes, Todd. I'm full of surprise. I'm totally kidding. And seriously, shouts to the Eagle Eye podcast. They were great for Club America. Great guys over there. So make sure you guys show some love over there because it's been a while. All right, let's get another podcast in, ladies and gentlemen. From Views from the Bridge, we got our boy, Mr. Evan Viella. Evan!
How the turntables, John. Finally, I'm on one of your podcasts and not the other way around.
Dude, I'm so thankful for all 4 of you dudes giving me that first opportunity, man.
I am glad that you got the one of the 4 of us that at least kind of knows how to keep people on track. Hey. Me.
You got your hands full over there.
I mean, I guess no. You know, and I think Justin's probably the sanest of the four of us. And then I won't claim to know more about anybody about anything on this podcast than cheese. I have you all absolutely covered.
Sounds
in the
good, my
cheese
man.
world.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for having me. This is insane. There's too many people, and this will be much like parties in real life, where I just turn into a wallflower. I'm sure.
We do want to give a quick shout out to Paul, Chuck, and Justin. Great co-host with Evan, and we love them. We just want to give our love to all three of those as well.
Love you too, brother.
Let's go. All right, last but not least, the OG himself, man. I cannot wait to pick this guy's brain. From It's Always Soccer in Philadelphia, please welcome Mr. Kevin Kincaid. Kevin, what's happening, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is very ambitious. We've had crossover guests on podcasts before, but I didn't think we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What do I count? 10 people in here. I like it. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thank God StreamYard. That's just the limit, though. We can't bring anyone else after this. We're screwed.
AJ and Luke were on Always Soccer last week. I think we ran out of time at 40 minutes on Zoom, so I was like panicking trying to cut it off before I got dumped.
Very true. Technology, man. Thank God we're able to do this, right? But guys, seriously, again, to all 10 of you guys, all 6 podcasts here, seriously, thank you again for doing this ambitious event that Kevin liked to allude to. So the way this is going to work, guys, so for everyone listening, what we're going to do, we have some questions here for our panel of podcasters. So what's going to happen is for each question, one representative for the podcast will take the question and give the thoughts, and we'll go on as like that. Again, guys, you got some comments, some questions, concerns, you can leave in the comments. We'll try to get to those at the end there. But I'm sure we have the best soccer minds in Philadelphia. So let's put it that way. We got the best soccer minds here in Philadelphia, and we're gonna get to some good opinions here. So let's get started, gentlemen, shall we? Let's get
lines to the audience to start. Okay.
I was gonna say, where's the best? Bring them out.
Yeah. We're the ones that were available.
Yeah.
Come on, I'm like Nick Sirianni, guys. I'm trying to.
Oh my God, please don't.
We're all a bunch of plants here. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So the first question here. So look, guys. Obviously, looking at this team going into the playoffs, they had another successful year in the Jim Curtin era, as I like to say. The way this team has kind of been built, it's kind of it's evident. This is a strong defensive team. When you look at the stats and the rankings and amongst the league, they're in the top 10, 5 in a lot of these categories. It's pretty darn good. The one criticism, and I'm sure all of us have heard from the listeners of our different podcasts, has been the attack. You look at some of these stats, a lot of middle of the table type of stacks when it comes to the attack. We hear, of course, our own Zach likes to mention Kasper Shabilko a lot here as well. So the first question is, I really want to get your guys' thoughts on the attack and how confident you're feeling heading into the playoffs. So we'll start with Duke by the River. Of course, Justin, Zach, or Tim, whoever. We'll start with Justin. We'll go in order here. So Justin, if you want to take this first question, your thoughts on the attack so far in the 2021 MLS season.
I don't know if I have enough alcohol in my apartment to go through that. But I'll honestly say it does concern me. I mean, I think we can all agree that it's shown flashes, and that's clear. What is also clear is that there's not much consistency behind Kasper, as inconsistent as he can be. But the way the attack's been working, especially with Gazdag, and the fact that late in the season he's been coming on pretty strong and being the number 10 that I think we were looking for, and that I really wasn't expecting to kind of flourish until next year, given he was basically a mid-season acquisition, had played an entire season prior, went to the Euros, got hurt, really kind of struggled to get time in the summer, and then basically since CCL, he's been getting most of the starts and been playing well. I think him playing, and especially with the mix of Paxton, of Quinn Sullivan, of Jack McGlynn, I think you're seeing that you have the pieces in place. It's just, are the strikers going to show up? Because the Union record is clear. When Kasper shows up, they play well. When he doesn't, it's a complete shit show. And not that it isn't always a shit show, we're Union fans, we're used to it. But this year is, listen, you knew coming off the Shield, it was going to be a slight, decrease. You finished second, which I still say exceeded my expectations for this season. I had them finishing third. And this attack has kind of been exactly what I thought at the beginning of the season. Inconsistent, and that's going to be the biggest test going into this matchup against Red Bull.
Very well put. Very well put. All right, let's move on to the Free Kick podcast. Todd, your thoughts on the Union attack heading into these playoffs, my man?
Well, I guess other than Casper, I think I looked before I came on here. He has an XG of 11.4, and he scored 12 goals in the regular season. So, I mean, he's doing better than that XG right there. But besides Casper, you can't rely on Corey Burke, who I think played 19 games in MLS this year. Can't stay healthy. Sergio Santos can't stay healthy. Like Justin said, you have Daniel Gazdag, who's been stepping up as of late, where all these people, when we brought him in, I'm sure all of us know on our podcast, people will say, oh, yeah, Gazdag's dumb. Why we buy this guy? He's a bum. And then you see the last 3-4 games, you're playing that Christmas tree formation with the 2-10s. Seems like Jameer Montero and Daniel Gazdag, that's how you're getting the best out of these two guys. And, I know it's always going to be the debate of, do you go back to the 4-4-2 when Corey Burke or Sergio Santos, whichever one of them comes back more healthy? I know Corey Burke just got called up to Jamaica's national team, so I guess he's probably a little bit farther along than Sergio Santos. But I don't know, the Christmas tree has been working as of late, so maybe you just ride the hot hand going into the playoffs against Red Bulls, because look, when we play the Red Bulls, we play the 4-4-2 diamond, and they haven't seen the Christmas tree. So who knows what the Christmas tree could do against the Red Bulls. But other than Casper, yeah, it's a little bit concerning. And then you bring in Davo. I guess I shouldn't even mention who he is. I mean, he's played, 7 minutes? That's it. So, yeah, it's concerning. But I don't know. I like what I'm seeing from the 4-3-2-1 formation as of late.
Good points. Good points. Feliz Navidad, as we like to say on our podcast. From the Doopy brothers, let's start with Luke here, man. Your thoughts on the Union attack?
Yeah, I guess I would just reiterate what Todd's saying. I'm optimistic with the 4-3-2-1. I think guys can help facilitate our offense, and then I think it's also a bit about getting the fullbacks in play too. And then Wagner and Bizo have been creating goals when they get forward and support Casper. And that's kind of what we need, because he's not a striker that really creates a goal by himself. So it's really about getting the support to him rather than expecting him to create a goal.
Okay.
Can I give a rebuttal?
Oh, of course, man. Hey, we're not going to get into brother drama here.
Nah. So I'm glad you guys are feeling maybe a little bit better than I'm feeling right now. So just thinking about where teams are when they're winning MLS Cup. So, and where the Union are. So just going through the last 5 MLS Cups, you had Columbus Crew with Zellaround, Seattle Sounders with name a handful of players. Atlanta, you had Martinez and the Almiron. Before that, Toronto FC. Before that, Seattle again. So my point being that, like, our offense might be mediocre. I just don't know if we have what it's going to take to carry us through the playoffs, if that makes sense. I feel like we need. I don't know if one hot player is going to be enough to carry us. The guy that could be hot enough to carry us would be Andre Blake, I would say. But offensively, I just don't know if we've got the abilities to enter the playoffs that confidently. But I would be more confident on the back end of the field. So a little bit of a subject change, but hopefully that made sense.
No, that was definitely great input. I appreciate that. Let's move on to the SOB pod. And Adam, your thoughts on our Union attack, man?
I mean, look, yeah, I don't feel great about it, to be honest with you. I think the last couple of games have been moments where especially if you look at the New York game, I think any form of speed at all would have broke down NYCFC, but because of, we have one of the Weeping Angels playing number 9 for us, you don't necessarily have what it takes to necessarily compete there. It's bothersome to me how many team goals we have, like goals that have to be generated by like actual build-up play, because that's good. That's a sign of a cohesion, and it's a sign of a really good team and a really structurally built team. But at the same time, you need someone who can just say, I'm going to take 3 people on and try to score this goal and actually score the goal. And we don't have that right now. And if it's Sergio when he's like healthy of some sort, great. If Davo is a project, which I believe that's what this all is, that's great. But like in this moment right now, like I still think they can win. But if you're just saying, how do you feel about Kasper Shabilko just being your lone striker going into the playoffs? Like that doesn't feel great to me. You know, I need a little bit of backup, just like a smidge.
It's a lot of the same feelings here. Okay. Evan, how you feeling about this attack, man?
Hey, man.
From views from the bridge as well.
I'm going to bring up 3 things. One of them is really quick. I'm glad that I still am correct in saying that the Union have never looked like the more threatening team up a man in their entire existence. And I still don't get it. 2, I think especially Tim and Kevin and some of the ex-Steel folks or people that paid attention would really like to see Corey Burke and Sergio Santos play next to each other because they're made for that. But whenever that happens, it never works because neither of them can score, and Sergio doesn't quite seem to make runs that he needs to underneath for Santos. So instead of like maybe sweeping changes in your attack every other game or so, we're stuck with Kasper Shabilko, which is fine when he's super hot in the Champions League, but not fine when he's not super hot in MLS play. And then I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but there's been this kind of pivot in the last 2 months when Gazdag's gotten a little bit more acclimated. And him and Montero seem to have a better like understanding of each other and how they play. And that's where the goals seem to be coming from. And like, that's fine. But to like Adam's point and to Todd's point, like in the MLS playoffs, it always seems like it's not necessarily about like the team as a whole. There's always certain players that seem to like just put it on, and that's the end of it. And I sure there's a world where that could be Kasper, or there's a world where that could be Miro, or there's a world where that could be Sergio, but like it doesn't seem like we're in that world unless something crazy happens and then it happens. But right now there's not anything that we can point to and go, they're going to do it, which is, again, fine. And that's kind of the fun nature of the unpredictability of the playoffs. But, like, I mean, I think we're all kind of happy the Union finished in second this year in the East, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're 100% right with everything that they kind of, gone through with the CCL. We know the whole curse around that. This is pretty impressive. I agree with you there. All right, last but not least, from It's Always Soccer in Philadelphia, our own Kevin Kincaid. Kevin, what do you think about this attack this season, man?
Yeah, listen, I think from day one, it's always been a question of identity for them. You know, obviously when they won the Shield last year, Brendan Aronson was a big part of the press, and they had a lot of success in these, creating these overloads and getting, 4v3s and 5v4s going the other way. And, this year they really did not come out and press the way that they pressed the year before. I hear that word all the time, press, but they really were not that team this year that they were last year. And, I think Brendan's running and his off-ball ability was really missed for sure. They tried Jamiro at the 10. They tried Gazdag at the 10. They've had different people up there. And, mixed results, right? They had a phase where they were just pinging the ball out to Kai Wagner. It seemed like he was just banging in like 40 crosses a game, see if we get lucky, right? So, it's kind of like it never really seemed like they settled into like, knowing what they wanted to do offensively or like identifying what they were going to be offensively. And, the switch to the Christmas tree, I think has helped for sure. It's helped unlock Gazdag a little bit, but against a team like Red Bull, a clumpy team that likes to press and likes to get up the field. I think a lot of times directness and verticality can be a good remedy for that. And they don't really have that with Shabilko. Up there because he's slower than molasses, and the 10s aren't going to run past him really. So I kind of wonder, like stylistically, if the Christmas tree is the best thing to beat a pressing team like Red Bull, but it's the best that they have right now, and that they've been able to do a little bit more in possession with them. We've seen some good things, so fingers crossed. The identity is always been defense, and we'll see if that can carry them through this.
Yeah, you really bring up good points, and I kind of really quick want to lead to the next question, just real quick, like. What formation, when fully healthy, would you guys rather see? 4-4-2 diamond or the 4-2-3-1 Christmas tree? Justin, what would you choose?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say 3-5-2. Listen, give me the 3 center backs. if you look, because of the way the
I'm not
Union
crazy about
play,
Finley, if I'm being honest.
If the week of the way the Union play, it's going to be a 3-5-2 that essentially evolves into a 5-3-2 when playing defense. And it's not like it hasn't been done in terms of winning MLS Cup. Toronto's a prime example of a 3-5-2 working perfectly. Now, do we have a Giovinco or an Altidore? This would be determined.
It always leads to that, Justin.
But I mean, the 3-5-2 to me, I think gets the most out of your fullbacks. The ability for Kai Wagner and Bizo to get up the field is huge. And apparently we've gone back to 2017 Union where crosses are everything, because that's where a lot of chances seem to be coming from. And if you're going to get these crosses in, I'd rather the wingbacks who, let's be honest, I don't really love Bizo coming back on defense. That's why I like Alvis Powell a little more defensively. But in terms of getting forward, Bizo works. And I think the 3-5-2 gets the most out of your wingbacks.
As you really bring up some good points. The thing is that Jim, it just doesn't go towards a 3-back set.
I don't know. He doesn't rotate. We all know that. Jim
I just think he loves those four together. If I'm being honest, I think he just likes to. And they played really well, as we just talked about with their rankings there. But Zach, what would you go with in formation?
Fully healthy, I'd go 4-4-2 diamond with Sergio and Casper up top for sure.
Okay.
I just think that gives the dynamic of having someone who can, press that back line and make defenses a little bit more uncomfortable and have them drop off, which then allows creative players like Gazdag and Miro and Paxton, when he's in, to kind of dribble at them and exploit those gaps in between the back line and the midfield now, because of the fact that they have to account for Sergio's speed. And it also gives Casper a little more room to be slow and create space for himself without getting, pressed too quickly, because we all know how that first touch goes after that. So,
oh boy,
yeah, 4-4-2 diamond for sure.
Timmy?
Yeah, it's a 4-4-2 diamond for me. And I think the key is kind of like what Zach was saying. You need Casper and Sergio next to each other, so you have the two different types of strikers. And then you have to have Gazdag as the low 10 in that diamond. I was talking about that, I think, back in August and September, when those three were healthier, right before Sergio got hurt again. When those three are on the field, you can tell like things just click a little bit more. They need that chemistry to build going into what I thought would be a playoff run here. So, hey, that's what I would go with. And then you have all those questions in the midfield of, do you play El Brujo? Do you play Leon Flock at the 6? All that fun stuff. But yeah.
So, Todd?
I'm going to keep it original and say 4-4-2 diamond as well.
Works.
Everybody's making the same points. And to Kevin's point, it's like, you're playing a team like the Red Bulls who love to press. And I think they led MLS in successful pressures this year. So you put Casper up there in the Christmas tree formation. It's like you're playing with 10 men, because they're just going to press the crap out of him. And he's not going to be fast or anything. So you're already down 10 men with Casper going against him. So yeah, if Sergio is healthy, I go with a 4-4-2 diamond. But if you have to go with Corey Birkin, Casper Shabelko, and a 4-4-2 diamond, I'd rather do the Christmas tree, because I think Casper and Corey Burke are a lot of similarities between these two guys. Even though Corey Burke's a little bit faster, I think they're just two typical strikers, those two guys.
Okay, Luke?
All right, I'll be a little contrarian, and I'll say I'd rather see us start with the 4-3-2-1, and because I like the idea of Santos off the bench and being a little bit of a difference maker, and maybe switch to a 4-4-2 later in the game. But I think I agree with what you guys are saying, but I think having like a kind of a playmaker off the bench is a little more effective, and Santos is only really effective 30-40 minutes a game, even when he starts. So I think reserving him and making him the difference maker off the bench might be an interesting way to go.
I like it. What about you, AJ?
I can't even with Luke anymore. Guy didn't even capitalize the second C in our last name. Anyway. All right. I would go 4-4-2 diamond. My thought process behind it is problem solving with our substitutions. I feel like with what we have on the bench, you have more flexibility with bringing in different guys, whether it's Martinez losing his head, so you bring in Flock there, or Flock needing to be higher up the field to put some pressure on. And then as far as having two strikers, so whichever of the two are colder, then I don't know, you can make adjustments there. I just think you have more ability to problem solve with the 4-4-2.
Okay. What about you, Adam?
I'd make sure it was off of mute first. Got to double check here for production value.
You texted Devin real quick.
Yeah, I was just like, how does mute work again? No, look, I'm stay the course. I don't know. I guess at this point, because I think everything like for me depends on health. Like how healthy is Corey really? Because him playing for Jamaica doesn't mean that much for me because Jamaica's offensive options are very limited to begin with. So having the corpse of Corey Burke is probably helping them than not. So, for me, I'm saying stay the course only because that's the most amount of talent you have right now on the field at one given time. But I need to see the youth interjected at maybe earlier intervals in this game because I do believe that Paxton and Jack can make differences in these games, and Quinn only because fresh legs means a lot, and those are the freshest we got, and it just, that to me, they've already proven when they get time in the game that they can make differences. So that's really the only biggest thing for me is but for me, as I agree with pretty much several people here, if you have Sergio coming off the bench and being a difference maker. If you remember, I always remember the U.S. Open Cup final against Seattle, and the difference between the two teams really wasn't the starting 11; it was the bench. They were bringing on Matis while we were bringing on Pedro Ribeiro, and that was the difference maker in the Cup final. If you have an ability to bring someone off of fresh legs at the 69th, that's what Ilsinho was. Ilsinho made his entire career off of being, I'll give you 20 minutes. And it'll be the best 20 minutes you've ever seen. I'll give you 20 minutes. If you can get that kind of a caliber guy off the bench here, you can live with the Christmas tree in the long term.
He was your closer, man. He was your closer for sure.
Brad Lidge life.
I was waiting for it. All right, Evan, what do you think, man?
Everyone's already made really good points, and Adam just exhausted the last of the ones that I was running through in my head to make so that I could sound astute. So I'll just say no one's brought up that it's the holiday season. Christmas trees. That's all I'm saying.
Christmas trees. All right. Hey, I'm not mad at it. Not mad at it. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, listen, the formation that I wanted to work, the configuration that I wanted to work early in the year was Sergio up top with Kasper or Corey, kind of to complement each other. One guy who can run, one guy who's bigger. Gajdog at the 10. I wanted Jameer to go back to the 8, and have Bedoya on the other side, and then Brujo behind him, because I think one of the problems that they were having in the diamond this year is that Ali's aging. He's getting a little bit older. He's not giving you as much going forward. You have like Leon Flock on the other side. His offensive game is very raw too. So, I mean, when you're going to play that, like, you need at least something offensively from one of those 8s, from one of those shutters. And they really weren't getting it, which is why it was nice to see like Jack McGlynn, like to Adam's point, like Jack and Paxton and those younger guys in there to kind of give them some fresh legs and some ideas going forward, because it got a little stale. I think stylistically against Red Bull, like I was saying earlier, I think when you're playing a team that wants to press you and you're able to kind of go over the top or, kind of hit that blind switch and move that pressing clump side to side, like to be able to have a guy like Sergio to stretch the field, lengthen things out for you and make them run, it makes it a lot easier. When you're pressing and when you're defending, the one thing you don't want to do is see the ball go over your head. And then you're like, oh, crap, right now I got to turn around 40 yards this way. I just ran my butt off, trying to trap this guy. So that would be preferential to me, as long as they had somebody at that other number 8 spot who's able to give them a little bit of something going forward too.
These are all really good points, guys. That's what? Jim's got the tough challenge there to figure out what these formations is going to be in these playoff games. But we'll move on to the next question. We'll get back to get back to the podcast, getting individual answers here. But what I wanted to ask you guys, look, when you are a contender, and I think that we can all agree that the Philadelphia Union are a contender for this MLS Cup here, you have those optimistic feelings. Like, you want to know, like, is this the year? can they get it done? Obviously, last year they won the Supporter Shield. This year we saw them make it all the way to the CCL semifinals. These are big accomplishments. 3 years ago we won our first playoff game, so a lot of accomplishments. So, for what I want to ask you guys, from last year's Supporter Shield winner that lost in the first round to now, what do you think is the difference? Why you think the Union could possibly make a run? And then we'll go the other way here. We'll start with it's always soccer in Philadelphia. Kevin, what do you think is the difference maker from last year's team to this year's team?
The difference, I think, is that they have the weight of the Champions League off their shoulders, and I think there's a singular focus here for sure. They're coming off winning the Supporter Shield, maybe have an emotional high from that, and then it's like you got to come back down. It's like, oh, we got a playoff game to play here, against the team that we played 40 times in the regular season to get the Shield. It's such like funky circumstances to kind of get yourself to kind of come down off that high and like reset and then kind of build yourself back up for a playoff game like that. But I think they got guys, this year who have like a ton of experience, who have been through 4 rounds of playoffs now, Champions League run, U.S. Open Cup final in 2018. Like, these guys are battle tested, man. They've been through a lot of stuff, and they've seen these games, win or go home kind of games or whatever. And I think that it's like they're a team who they're going to have a home field advantage. They're the number 2 seed. They'll be able to show that they're better than the number 7 seed. The Red Bull team that they've played this year is not as good as Red Bull teams in the years past, and they didn't lose to them this year. So maybe I just jinxed it right there. We'll see. But I think
Kevin.
Clearly on paper, I think we know who's better.
Absolutely. We'll move on to views from the bridge. Evan, what do you think is the difference from last year to this year?
There's been, if we see them, there's been more homegrown players that have had impacts game to game as a whole. Like physically, there's more of them. Last year, it seemed like it was the Brendan Aronson, as it should have been, the Brendan Aronson show. And I think we're still feeling the effects of him leaving, because we've tried to figure out how to replicate his production through about 2 or 3 or 5 different people. But to what Adam said about 10 minutes ago, not even, Quinn Sullivan has been absolute dynamite whenever he's been called on. And he's only ever played like 15 minutes at a time, which is insane. Like, he's this year's Ilsinho, and he's not 34, which is massive for the club. So I think the fact that we can look at this game and, like, I would really love for once to just have like a comprehensive playoff victory, like a 2-0 win would just be wonderful. And then Adam would have a heart attack in the stands, maybe, for a bad reason, I guess. But it's nice that we're like set up for the future, because there's not an imminent club waiting to snap up Quinn Sullivan or Jack McLoone or the 800 other Jacks in the club. And so there's an expectation to do better in the playoffs this year, which is different, because I think the last couple of years it's just kind of sort of happy to be here. But now you see a team go to Estadio Azteca and not get absolutely outclassed. There's expectations to do better in the playoffs and be more assertive and kind of, stake your claim. But also, I don't think there's as much sort of uncertainty around the team and the guys on the team and where they're going to end up, 3 months from now, as there was last year when it was, Kai's gone and Casper might be leaving and Sergio might be leaving. There's a lot less of that happening at this point this year, at least I feel like, than there was at this point last year. And that's helpful too, because you don't have guys thinking about West Ham coming in for a transfer or anything like that.
Good points. What about you, Adam? What do you think?
Look, you should be able to win the whole thing. I don't really know why that's out of the realm here. I don't see any team personally that looks particularly strong for me in MLS this season. Like, for most of the season, I was like, you know what? Seattle looks really good. And then at the last minute, Colorado takes the first seed out from them, and it's just like Kansas City also kind of falls on their face. And how well do I really feel about Colorado in the grand
Just
scheme?
don't bring that up to Peter Vermees, all right?
No, of course. And it's just, even on the East Coast, it's just like, look, we just played NYCFC, and everyone can agree here, other than the fact that they play in a farce of a stadium, they look okay. You know, I don't see anything particularly about them that makes me feel particularly like, oh no, you know, down the board, you look like you can stack up against anyone in this tournament. So like, look, it's one of these things where like if the Union end up in MLS Cup, I don't really want anyone to be that shocked. You know, it just, now if they don't, also don't be shocked. But it's just like, if they end up there, it's not this Cinderella miraculous story. You've been building this thing up. You know, this is not your daddy's Union. This is not the Union of 4 or 5 years ago. This is a Union with expectations. And this is a Union that wants to meet those expectations. They've got a captain who's not just happy to be here. He wants to create a legacy with this club. You know, a coach who wants to create a legacy with this club. And I think that you're getting to that apex with a lot of these moments. So.
You know what, Adam? I just can't wait till Tony on 9th and Wolf starts talking about the Union in the MLS Cup Finals. That's all I want, man.
Oh my God, no! I dream of the day that no one on sports radio ever talks about the Union, because that would just make me believe it goes backwards. I don't need an Ingy giving me sports radio like Union takes. That's the last thing in the universe I need.
You know,
Maybe
Kevin
we can
wants
organize another. It was kind of an accident when we blew up Missinelli's show that one time.
Yes. No. Oh my God. Honestly, that's going to be the thing that either makes or breaks soccer in this entire city again. Is
we'll
all
make
of us
sure
is
we
alienating
do.
that.
Well, that was kind of, we backed into that accidentally. I think people just started calling. I think like Jared called in and was like ripping Mike or something. But we'll have to actually like organize it this time. But we'll make sure it's on like a really important, like Eagles like Monday after a big win or something like that. So we'll get him at like an opportune time.
This guy's like the 10 of the feet. No.
Jared, and I want to say this: Jared's enthusiasm is 1,000% authentic. That is he's 100% go all of the time. There is no stop on the Jared freight train.
That's why we love him. AJ, what do you think's the difference, man, from this year to last year?
I mean, I feel like the guys have all covered it pretty well. One thing I would just say is the path seems very, very doable this year. I think our first round matchup is about as ideal as we would have wanted. Second round doesn't look too bad, and then who knows what we got in the conference finals. So a little confident there in that path.
Okay. What about you, Todd?
The one thing nobody's bringing up is the difference is we have 13 days off between NYFC and then the New York Red Bulls game compared to last year when we played New England. We had 16 days off. That makes a big difference. And then you look at New England, they have 22 days off before the next game. And yeah, they're the first seed and everything, but 22 days off before you play a game, like that's a lot to get back into fitness. That's a lot to get back in the game mentality. So yeah, just because New England had this impressive season, I don't know. If I was Bruce Arena, I'd be a little bit skeptical about what the Philadelphia Union had happened to them last year could happen to us in the first round. Everybody's been talking about us all year. Oh, who's the MVP? Is it Carlos Heel? Is it Mukhtar? Now we believe it's Heel. Buxa Gustavo Bo had an outstanding season. But you go back in 2019 where we finished 3rd or 4th, I believe it was, in the playoffs. And we won our first game against the New York Red Bulls, and then we went down to Atlanta. I do believe if we had that game in Subaru Park in 2019 against Atlanta, we probably would have been in the Eastern Conference Finals. But going down there to Mercedes-Benz, that's an intense atmosphere, and we had chances in that game. And just like I said, just having 16 days off last year against New England, playing them 1,000 times last year. Yeah, I mean, the writing was probably on the wall that we were going to lose that game anyway. But now the fact of the matter is we have the home game against New York Red Bulls, and if we win that, then we have another home game at Subaru Park where we know it's an intense atmosphere. And like I said, I would be shocked if New England pulls off and win against Atlanta or New York City, just because those 22 days off. I think that's a lot of games off, and players aren't used to that in MLS and just soccer in general. So we could potentially have 3 home games hosting an Eastern Conference Finals at Subaru Park. I would love it, but if we can get 2 playoff wins, I'd be happy with that.
Now Todd's jinxing us here. No, I'm just kidding. And we get a little shout out for Todd's quizzes here. Look at that. Lots of love for PJ. Show some love from PJ. All right, and then Zach from Duke by the River. Zach, what do you think is the difference from last year to this year?
I think the bench this year is definitely better than the bench last year, just because of the fact that you have Paxton Quinn and Jack. And then if you do play the diamond, you probably have Leon. coming on as well. But that really comes down to Jim's ability to like take advantage of the players on the bench and not sub them in the 85th minute when we need a goal. And I think that that's been something that is kind of hampered the team at times this season. Like you could have made the sub in the 70th minute and given someone some time to grow into the game and then make a difference, as opposed to like you got to go out there and make a difference right away with 5 minutes left in the match. But if the bench is utilized the way it can be, I think that late in games, the Union are going to be an issue for a lot of teams.
Okay. All right. My next question, guys. Here, by the way, great points everyone brought up there. But the next question here, what I want to ask you guys, looking at the Eastern Conference as a whole, all 7 of these clubs, what is the one team that you absolutely do not want the Union to face if we're talking about MLS Cup here? We'll start back up with Duke by the River. And Tim, looking at the Eastern Conference, who's that one team you just do not want to see on that schedule, man?
I mean, I guess it would have to be New England, right? At this point,
Todd brought some good points.
Yeah, he did. I think he's right about that, but I still think this New England team is the one team you wouldn't want the Union to play right now. It just seems like they have the Union's number this year, and even going back to last year's playoff game. Everyone else in the East, I agree with everyone else's points that they made. Like the path is there to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think that should be the goal of the club, is to get to that point. But I think, it's going to be you hope New England crash out of that first round or second round game, and then you're hosting the Eastern Conference Final with a chance to go to MLS Cup. But yeah, I think it's New England. You don't want to go up there and play those guys in what would be a conference final to go to MLS Cup.
So the crest, right? Their new crest that they unveiled. Well, that won't be on their kits in the club.
No.
So that'll be until next season.
Yeah, that's next year.
Okay, we're wondering if they jinxed themselves. We'll see. Todd, who's the team you just don't want to see the Union face off against?
Either Atlanta or New York City. I mean, ever since Pineda has taken over at Atlanta, they've looked a completely different team than they did at the beginning of the season. Joseph Martinez, if he can get hot, we all know what kind of striker he is. Now, granted, he's coming off of that ACL surgery, so I know a lot of players, once they lose that speed, then their career starts to dwindle down, but he's still a good goal scorer. I mean, you guys all saw that goal he scored against Cincinnati. What a world-class goal that Joseph Martinez scored. And then just New York City, I feel like we never match up well against them. I was happy with the 1-1 draw because when teams go into Yankee Stadium, typically they come away with no points. So for us to come away with a point, I was happy with that. But yeah, I mean, whether it's at Subaru Park or at Yankee Stadium, we don't play good against New York City. And then, like I said, Atlanta with the way Pineda has those guys playing.
Okay. We'll go on to Doobie Brothers with Luke. Who's that team you just do not want to see?
For me, it's definitely NYC. They always just give us trouble, and Tatsy Castellanos is the most frustrating player to play against, and he's in like the best form he's ever been in MLS. So that's scary to me. I feel like obviously the Revs would be tough, but I feel a little bit more. I feel maybe irrationally confident of playing against them because I feel like when we did play against them this year, it was when we were resting a bunch of players and the kids were going out there and they played better than expected. So it makes me feel like New England's a little more beatable if we have our more of a first team out there. But yeah, New York just always is a team that I'm never very excited to play against. So that would be definitely my pick.
You and I both, brother. You and I both. Adam, man, who do you not want to see?
Atlanta. That's it. And only because of Martinez. Outside of that, it's just and we talked about this earlier, having an individual that can create their own goals in the way that he can is always dangerous, even when you have a solid defense like I believe the Union have. I don't fear New York in Chester in the same way that I fear them in the Bronx. And I think that you can handle them in some capacity. Like, I think you can beat them. Because here's the thing. You should have beat them on Sunday. For 16 other reasons other than the fact that you were up a man. You should have beat New York. You didn't. We'll talk about that. But it's the fact of the matter is I don't really fear any team in the Eastern Conference against the Union because I believe the Union are a complete team in their own respect. Like, I understand Atlanta has their giant payroll and all their internationals, but so do we. You know, I mean, not payroll, but internationals. Like, so do we. You know, I believe we have the caliber talent to go up against anyone in the Eastern Conference and compete. But it is the individual brilliance that I fear more than anything. You know, that's it'd be Atlanta for me.
Okay. Evan, what about you, man? Who are you fearing in the East?
Yeah, the whole like being home to everybody except for New England thing is helpful, right? I think Adam's right. Like if we played in the Bronx, that'd be it. And that's more due to the post stamp just being an embarrassment, and one team is the only team that's able to train for that 9 months out of the year, whatever it is. That being said, we've never played New York City in a way that I thought was convincing. Regardless of what park it's at. So I don't really want to see them. And then I think Nashville just do a really, really, really great job of playing for Gary Smith. And I'd rather not see that until I necessarily have to. Because for better or worse, and as boring as that team might seem outside looking in, there's something to be said for someone who should be the coach of the year, by the way. Hands down. I know Bruce Arena is going to get it for obvious reasons, but it should be Gary Smith. I've never seen a coach in MLS be able to get guys to buy into a system like that when the system's not just go out and play really pretty attacking football.
That's a good point. Nate would like to let Adam know, if this loads up, the Union are a complete team. That's a bold statement, Adam. Adam, unmute.
Devin, where are you? Jesus, you're fired. No, if you look at the team, you have the best goalie in MLS, right? Like, and shout outs to Matt Turner. I think he's been fantastic this entire season. But I believe you still have the best goalie in MLS. You had Yaka played every single minute this season in MLS. You have the best left back probably in the league. You know, you have a decent right back who's kind of coming to his own. You know, your midfield has almost too many options in a lot of ways. It's almost like you have to figure out the square pegs and the round holes in that particular situation. Outside of your production truly at the top, which you can attribute that to the injuries or rotations, whatever, I believe they are one of the more complete teams in this league. I don't believe there's that many holes in the ship, to be honest with you. You know, I believe the problems that you have are very obvious, but there's a reason why you finished number 2 in the conference. You overcame a lot of these things going through another weird season, another disbalanced season, and all that other stuff, you know.
Absolutely. Kevin, to end this one, who do you fear in the East?
Well, real quick, Evan was talking about Gary Smith. I have a Gary Smith story for you. It's like 2 seconds long. The Colorado Rapids came to Philly in 2011. This was the year after they won the MLS Cup. And one of the journalists in Philly called Gary Smith John. He said John, and then started asking his question. I was like, I've never been so uncomfortable in my entire life. He looked like so weirded out by it. He's like, dude, I just won MLS Cup and you called me the wrong name. Do you even know like what what more do you have to do to gain respect around here? Now, listen, the top half of the bracket is the pain in the ass, you know, like Atlanta, a different looking Atlanta, New York, you know, having to go to New England, obviously, if you get them. The New York City game that the Union lost was the 15th minute red card to at home. So I would take that and kind of throw it in the trash. But, yeah, they beat Orlando at home. They beat Nashville at home. I'm not nearly as afraid of those teams in the second round as if, you know, you get like an Atlanta or an NYC in the second round for sure. So I, you know, at the risk of jinxing it again for the second time, I'd say that they have a great path to the conference finals. I mean, we all said that about the Sixers last year too, and look at what happened to them.
Oh man.
Sorry to have to bring that up again too, but yeah, I think it lines up nicely for them. You know, when they went, you know, 2 years ago when they beat Red Bull at home, they had to like turn around and go to Atlanta on short notice in a situation where Atlanta had like 24 hours rest on them. So they're not going to have to do that this year. I think the path is there to the conference finals for them, and hopefully they get it done. And with that, I will make my departure because I got to get to my toddler, or my toddler is asleep. It's the 2-month-old who's downstairs right now. My shift is beginning, so
No
my
worries.
wife can go to bed. But I want to say thanks for having me on, and I appreciate all you guys, and you're all doing a great job. And the Union podcast network is a strong one.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
We'll keep it going.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and you have a great
right.
night, my man.
All right, peace, guys.
Absolutely. Kevin Kincaid, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Kincaid. All right, guys, I wanted to move on here, and this is actually a great topic of discussion that was brought up on Twitter, and I kind of wanted to get the perspective of you guys who obviously follow the club very diligently. Look, we know that when we look at the grand landscape of the Philadelphia within our city, we have a ways to go, right? And obviously, you saw today that was great. Seeing some banners throughout 19th and Chestnut. So let's say in a hopefully hypothetical, right now, Union make the MLS Cup final, right? You have an opportunity here. Jeffrey Lurie's like, hey, Union, we got this link for you. You can put as many fans as you want downtown Philly. You can get a bunch of fans from all around the world in a stadium that is right here in Philadelphia. Or would you just say, hey, we fought hard 12 almost 12 years here in this grounds, and this is our place. We're going to win the cup here. And we'll start here with views from the bridge. Evan, Sub, or the link?
Well, I mean, it would. I was gonna really curse. It would mess up the title of my podcast, so I'll keep it at Subaru Park. But no, and I get it, and I get it, and I know that this is always going to be a debate where it's like, well, they don't actually play in Philly, and it could be a lot easier to get to the link, But like you can't, like, I don't know, air quotes, like, admit defeat, and I also don't think that would. Well, sorry, I don't want to play. I'm going to ruin your hypothetical. I just wouldn't do it. I think you've worked really hard to build what you have at Subaru Park, and that leaving that for a one-off game to potentially win a final in a stadium that's bigger than yours isn't worth it. And we've also seen what happens when this team makes finals anyway. So there's that. So no, I get it, and I appreciate it, and it would be really neat to see that many Union fans or that many soccer fans in general just converge on the link. But that's why you have a potential World Cup match and all that fun stuff, all those Gold Cup games and this, that, and the third. So that's a thank you, but no thank you from me.
Okay. No, absolutely. Todd, what do you think, man?
Yeah, same thing. Keep it at Subaru Park. I mean, I'd rather have the 18,500 fans in there, pack that stadium, as opposed to what we'd be lucky, I feel like, to get 40,000 in the link. Because in my opinion, I don't think you're going to convince just your football, your soccer, your football, basketball fans to come. Yeah, you might get some people because it's a championship in Philadelphia, but I don't think you're going to get enough to fill up the link. So I'd rather keep the 18,500 people there. And let's make Subaru Park loud and clear. And it's like you waited all these years for a final MLS Cup final. You've had finals in Subaru Park, and yeah, you're right. It hasn't went the way any of us have won it, but you would much rather take your chances in Subaru Park, where the players are used to playing on that pitch. They're used to the atmosphere in that stadium compared to what it may or may not be in the link. So yeah, keep it at Subaru Park.
Okay. Let's go to AJ. What do you think there?
I'm just gonna read it as the same thing. Let's keep it at the Sub, and if we're in this situation, it means we've won 1, 2, 3 games already there. So I don't know why you would move it out of where you're winning right then. Keep everything's comfortable.
Okay, Adam, you're and I don't think I didn't notice, Adam. I noticed you flipped the hat over when we talked about the lane.
The hat got uncomfortable, to be honest with you, but the backwards position, but it's all good. Look, I honestly think that if you put it in the link, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I think you could. I get it, and I'm okay with it being in Subaru Park. My thing is, like, if you did a Champions League final, I'd want it at the link, and only because it's, to me, I just saw what Club America just did to our own stadium, and it's like when you have a venue of that size, you can get overrun in your own house, and as a capo, that's not a very comfortable situation for me. You know, I got death threats from the 4th minute on from the Club America fans that were inches away from me. In the link, I hope there might be a little bit of separation between that, you know. So I'm like, if we ever made a Champions League final, similar to how Montreal did it a couple years ago, I'd want it to be in the link, the same way they put in Estadio Olympia. But for an MLS Cup final, now you got to put it at home. You know, you built the SUB, you built the whole facility, you made it what you are. And MLS fans, especially because it's going to be a West Coast team, like outside of like Seattle or Portland or Kansas City, we're not going to travel that well to overwhelm you. So you can still have your home. And, you know, it's real quick. When the NBA players went to the bubble, you noticed how there was a bunch of players that got really good and a bunch of players that were not good. You know, like there was a bunch of people who were just shooting the lights out. And it's because it's because the sight lines changed. It's because when you're used to looking in 20,000 seats arena and then you change it into a convention center, the way that you perceive how you've been playing the game in that changes. So I have the same feeling about Subaru Park versus the Link. If you're used to the SUB, you keep the SUB because your eyes are used to it, your body's used to it, you're used to the smells, all that. Once you go into the Link, it's almost like a neutral site. And then you lose some of what, at least for the player-wise, you lose some of the stuff that you want them to gain by having a home game. It's good for the fans, but it's not good for the team.
Okay. Now, we're going to go to Justin here. And I have a feeling I know where this is going to go, but Justin, let him know. Let him know.
I mean, come on. Of course, the SUB. I really think Adam laid it out perfectly. If it's a Champions League final, yeah, you want to maximize it, you know, for the full potential of everyone to come and say, hey, this is a massive, you know, competition for the entire region that is, you know, pretty damn important. I think for the MLS Cup, while it is a very important game, I think moving it to the Link would no way justify a bigger crowd. And I think you could absolutely guarantee that in the SUB, you are going to pack that nearly 19,000 in there. And if I'm going to be honest, I would love to see, and maybe this is just a pipe dream, our own Adam Booth here to have his Pat Croce moment on the top of the Commodore Barry and hang a banner. So let's go, Union. If we do make the MLS Cup final, let's make that happen, because boy howdy would I love to see that.
Now, you guys all raise good points. I will say this. I think that the MLS Cup final in general should be played at a neutral site, but that's a topic for another day.
Totally agree.
What is Wembley? You know, what would be, what's America's Wembley, where we would always play the MLS Cup final? Like that's an entire different podcast, but like that's the question. Like, is it MetLife?
Somewhere warm, I think. Probably LA. LA.
SoFi. I would go SoFi.
SoFi's the way to go.
Perfect. All right, never mind. We figured it out in 2 minutes, guys.
And that's the point, guys. I think that the MLS Cup, look, as much as I criticize the NFL, what they do for the Super Bowl is ridiculous. It's a literal holiday. It's a party throughout the whole week. And look, I know the MLS Cup it will probably never get there, but you should take that blueprint and, you know, turn it into a party as best as you can. Find these neutral sites, and plus these players don't want to play in freezing cold weather, winning a championship. So that's kind of,
your country's too big, though. Like, if America was the size of like an England and it only took us 3 hours to get to Manchester, yeah, you could have a neutral site, you know. But when like one fan base is coming from Seattle, the other one's coming from Orlando.
These football fans do it, though.
No, they do. But I mean, like, come on now. I mean, like, MLS doesn't have the legions, you know.
We would travel here. The nine of us here would travel.
What if we just get John Garber to subsidize travel?
Yeah. What kind of allocation money is that?
Is that TAM?
It's
No,
TAM,
just
but
tell-
it's travel allocation money.
It's travel.
Yeah.
No,
It's a
just tell
different
him we'll
kind.
give away all our draft picks from now until the end of time, and then he'll just like let us travel for free.
Yeah, how long until that doesn't work anymore? Is that a question, John? Did you have that question? How long can the Union keep giving their draft picks away until people just say no, thank you, and then we keep going?
I feel like the MLS is
Infinity.
going to pull an NBA and just step in. Like, listen, Ernst, you're making
Feel
us
like you
look
have
bad.
to use at least one a year. God damn it!
I mean, we have changed the structure of the draft, literally thanks to us.
Yeah, I mean,
And Cincinnati, because Cincinnati pays too much
Buy
money
some-
for draft picks.
yeah, I mean, dude, playing college soccer, you realize that it is not a breeding ground for very good professional players 95% of the time. It is not the nice. It's like high school soccer, just a little bit better. Like that's basically how it is. So I wouldn't say that the Union are doing a bad thing by getting rid of their draft picks.
You shut your mouth about Fabian Herbers right now.
Look, you got, what was it? Elliott was like the last great Union draft pick, I think we'll say.
Yeah.
You know, after that.
Yeah,
And he was a fourth
Yeah.
rounder.
But
Gem.
the draft, look, American soccer needs less America. And one of the
totally
things
agree.
that's very America about it is the draft.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the Union did it the correct way, where you need an academy. You need to grow this because the athletic talent in this country is through the roof. So there's no point of just being like, let me wait until you're 20. No, let me grow these and cultivate these 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds in the backyards of San Jose and make them into the products we need, you know, in the future teams. Like the draft makes no sense when an academy structure exists, you know.
This is very true. These are all very good points. Very good points. All right, guys, that's the hour mark there. So that's going to do it for I guess we're going to call it the first ever Union Cypher. This is definitely the first Cypher. And I know, Raphael, there was no battle rap, although I would like to see you guys spit some rhymes
wouldn't.
here.
No,
you would not.
You really wouldn't.
No.
I promise.
I come from Wayne and I'm insane in the brain and
Okay.
okay.
And that's
Yeah,
already
there it
better
is,
than
there it
any
is.
of the other people on this podcast. would be.
Winner.
I don't know. Yeah. A winner is you, Adam Booth.
You get the belt.
Yeah, there's a reason why Modest Yahoo is the only Jewish rapper around. We don't need more of that.
What is Little Dicky not
Yeah,
Jewish?
Little Dickie's Jewish. Little Dickie's
Also,
Jewish.
Asher Roth, I'm pretty sure, is also
And
Jewish.
All right, fine,
Drake.
3. Adam.
And Drake is Jewish.
Fun fact
Wow.
about Asher Roth. Asher Roth went to the same high school I went to, so that's
There
pretty
you go.
We don't need more. I don't need to be added to the list here.
Oh, look, blah blah blah. Lenny Kravitz. Okay.
There you go.
There it is.
There you go. Real quick, I just wanted to thank all you guys, including Kevin Kincaid as well, for hopping on and taking the time tonight to do this episode. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, we're all excited, ready for the playoffs, and I hope that for the people that were listening, we were able to give you guys enough insight of our opinions of as far as going into the playoffs. So I want to give a quick thanks to everyone. I will put all the podcast links in all the descriptions. It'll be on YouTube. It'll also be on wherever we stream the podcast, Apple, Google, and Spotify as well. So you guys can go ahead and subscribe and check out their podcast. They all bring something different to the table. And at the end of the day, it's all Union, and they do a fantastic job as well. So again, guys, seriously, thank you. Seriously. All right, guys.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
John. See everybody.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Union Cypher.